Hello and welcome to the Wicker Library. My name is Aaliyah. So happy you are with us here today. I am going to make this video all about my physical TBR, and I have 24 books I want to talk about today, and these 24 books are all books I have not read yet but really want to, and they're all books that I already own. So one of my goals in 2024 is to get through my already owned books and not buy any new books until I've gotten this pile down to less than 10 books. And on top of that, I have a goal where of the books on my TBR, 24 of them I have to read by the end of 2024 or I unhaul them. Granted, some of these books I'm borrowing from friends or things like that, so if I don't read them by the end of this year, I will just give them back to my friend. I won't be giving all of these away completely. But without further ado, I want to start off with the series that I own a part of. So these are series that I've already started or that I really want to start but are a little daunting because starting series for me is always a little scary, especially if not all of the books are out yet. And I will be going into the books and the reasons why I picked them up or what calls to me about them, but I won't be going too into detail about what they're about. So I like to pick up books without knowing too much besides the fact that I want to read them for some reason, and I don't want to look too into the blurbs, and also I think it would be fun and quicker to go through these books for the reasons I picked them up rather than just what they're all about. So let's get into some series. So starting off, we have The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. I have read and really loved The Poppy War, which is the first book in this trilogy, and I just want to continue it. The Poppy War has everything I love in fantasy. It's a very rich historical world with incredible magic, really intriguing characters who are morally ambiguous to not great morally, but really interesting to follow and very well written. So I'm just really excited to continue this. I definitely need to reread the first book in order to read the second book, which is why I've been putting this off for so long, because it is quite a commitment, but I know as soon as I get back into it, I'm going to fly through it. I flew through The Poppy War the first time I read it, so I'm just really looking forward to continuing this. We then have Heaven Official's Blessing by Mo Xiang Shu, and this book I got impulsively, and I've been putting off reading because it's a very long series. I think there's like 7 or 8 books, and all of the books weren't out when I got this first book, so I wanted all of the books to be out before I started the series because I hate being left on cliffhangers or being left without a sequel to something. And I picked this up because I really enjoyed the animated series of the first book, I think, and it's going to be continued. It's already being continued currently, but I'm just really excited about this. It has some beautiful artwork in it, and I hear the book is even stronger than the series because usually it is, but yeah, this one I'm really excited to read. It's going to be a commitment, but I know I'm going to love my time with it. Next, we have The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yi, and this one I picked up because I love the Avatar: The Last Airbender series, Kyoshi especially. I don't feel like I need to even justify why I got this. I also know there's queer representation in these books, and it is a series. I'm a little unfamiliar about how many books are part of original series and how many are spin-offs or things like that, but there's a lot of content here, and I'm really looking forward to diving back into the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I never need much of an excuse to pick up the animated series again, so I will probably be reading this and rewatching for the billionth time that series. But yeah, This one is going to be really good. I feel really good about it, and I'm so excited to finally get to it this year. The next book we have is a gift and a buddy read, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This book my friend Lauren picked up in the UK, and we are buddy reading it. She's technically already read it and has thoughts on it, and I'm really looking forward to reading it myself. This one has magical worlds and schools, and that's all I needed to know. The cover is really, really pretty. I love the artwork of the main character here, and I'm just so excited to read this and have thoughts to share with one of my best friends. And yeah, the final book that I have within series is Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World by Benjamin Alire sáenz. And this one I have been putting off for so long, mainly because it's another one where I have to reread the first book. It is a duology, I believe. I don't think there's anything after this second book here. And this was published way after the end of Aristotle and Dante, the first book. And I really enjoyed that when I read it. I think I read it in like 2018 or something like that. I was in early high school, so I don't remember much of it. I do remember enjoying it. I'm curious to see where the story goes, especially because the first one ended in a way that is pretty good as a standalone, so I'm curious to see how everything evolves. But yeah, it's a thick book. I know it is one that's going to go by very quickly though, because it is a fast-paced writing style from what I remember, so we shall see. So there are two books that I'm going to talk about next that are sort of part of series, but they're more companion based series. So the first one is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley, and this one has, again, such a pretty cover that really intrigued me, ignoring the ugly ass freaking YA book club sticker. I hate book club stickers. They need to be banished. Any kind of sticker on the cover needs to be abolished. But this one I picked up from my aunt, and she is a high school English teacher, so she gets a bunch of beautiful new YA releases and things like that for her classroom, and going to her house is basically like going to a free bookstore. So I've been meaning to read this one, and I know it is sort of a thriller contemporary story, and it does have a companion novel that was just recently put out, and I know this one can stand alone though, so I'm looking forward to reading a standalone that, if I really am intrigued by the world or the characters or the writing, something like that, I can still have something to move on towards. And yeah, that one will be really exciting to get into. Next, we have one I'm hoping to read pretty soon because I feel like it's a perfect book to read in the winter snowy months, and that is Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler. This is a really interesting one because it is the second book to a series, and the first book, Parable of the Sower, was one of my favorite books of the year I read it in, and I really enjoyed it. And it does stand alone, and I think this one stands alone as well, which is why I don't think I'm going to reread Parable of the Sower before picking this one up. But I also know that Octavia E. Butler unfortunately passed away before finishing the planned third book, and so this series does not continue, even though it was originally planned to be a trilogy rather than a duology, which is another reason I've been avoiding picking it up because I know that a third book will never happen, but I also really know I'm going to love this and just adore the writing style, and everything Octavia E. Butler has to say is always just wonderful, profound, amazing, genius. All of the words for this book. Now going into the books that are standalones, are individual, we have Mouthful of Birds by Samantha Schweblin. This is a short story collection. I freaking love short stories. I have been really getting into my short story era, and Brandon Taylor is mostly to blame for that. I have really adored getting into shorter fiction through his books, and now I cannot be stopped. I need to continue. This book is one that I actually picked up and was recommended by one of my classmates in one of my writing workshops, and they just thought I would like it, so I was like, say less, and I picked it up. Unfortunately, it suffers from, as you can see here, a sticker residue. And so that is another reason I've been putting it off, because as much as I would obviously read it, just the hardcover, it makes me so sad that a sticker was placed on it and it's still sticky, and I hate it. I hate it so much. The next book I think I got at a signing, and that is Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. I read Yoke by this author, really loved it. I loved the messy characters. I loved the easily digestible writing style that was quick and punchy. And I saw this author in conversation with Casey McQuiston for a release of, I think it was one of Casey's books, but I was really enamored by this author and how she spoke and her sense of humor and things like that. So I knew I wanted to read more by her after finishing Yoke, but I knew even more that I wanted to read more by her after listening to her in conversation. So this one I am expecting messy characters from, and that's all I need. I love a well-written messy character. Moving on, we have The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. This one is also translated, and let me see who the translator is because I didn't put it on the main title. The translator is Stephen Snyder, and it's translated by Japanese, or translated from Japanese, I believe. And this one I picked up, funnily enough, because I saw The Clockwork Reader start it and really enjoy it, and the way she talked about it, it sounded like something that I really wanted. She ended up not actually enjoying it upon finishing it, but I had already kind of got it with free thrift book credits, so I'm not mad about it if I don't enjoy it, but it sounds like it explores a lot of care work, and care work is something I've been studying alongside disability studies in college, so I'm curious to read it with that lens, and yeah, I love translated fiction. I know that's a very broad statement, obviously, but all of the translated books that I've been reading lately, especially Japanese translated fiction, has just been so lovely, and I really like reading from other places. Next, we have one of the easiest 5-star predictions, and that is Sula by Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison's books I've only read 2 from. I've read Beloved and Song of Solomon, both phenomenal books. She is everything. I don't even need to speak her praise because everyone knows. And I just know this one especially is going to be a gut punch, and it's going to be everything I love. Female friendships. That's it. That's all I need. And Toni Morrison's name on it. I picked this up impulsively. I think it was in a used bookstore, but I got this and the reason I don't read Toni Morrison's books from the library is because I know that her writing is writing that I like to annotate and take my time with. So this book I'm going to be annotating, writing all up in, and I'm going to read it this year, and it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. We now have Breasts and Eggs by Miko Kawakami. This is another work of translated fiction, another one where the translator is not on it. Okay. Translated by Sam Bett and David Boyd. Okay. Those are the translators. This is also a work of Japanese translated fiction, I believe. I'm really intrigued by the cover. Everyone talks about it. This was a buy that I probably didn't need to buy, but I'm gonna read it this year. So if I don't read it, I'll unhaul it. But yeah, this one I can't even really justify buying. There's no real reason except that I do want to annotate it when I read it. And yeah, I want to take my time with it. I'm I'm making excuses. I really didn't need to buy this book. I definitely could have read it from the library or on audiobook, and I still might read it on audiobook, but I don't know. I think I'll really like it. It sounded like a book that just was written for me. You know, maybe that's egotistical, but I think it was written for me. This book, The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. This book I got for like $1 or something at Goodwill. I found it, and this is the edition I really wanted. So I got it. I got it mostly, or I actually didn't get it. I convinced my mom to get it because she said it sounded like something she'd want to read as well. But if you can see here, I put like a random little tag on the cover because once again, a sticker doesn't come off the cover, and it pissed me off, and this cover was already so stunning and really good quality, especially for something being $1 at Goodwill. Yeah, this pissed me off, so I found like a little sticker to cover it, and you know what, I'm not too mad about it. I'm not too mad about it, but this one has magic, family, generations, all of the good stuff. All of the good stuff. This book I have technically started, and I started it for a class, and that is Care Work, Dreaming Disability Justice by Leah Lakshmi Pyepsna Samasingha. And this book I actually did a presentation on, the first chapter, I think, for one of my classes called Care Work. I loved it. This writer is phenomenal, and this book is one that I'm going to probably start early 2024 and finish late 24. It's one collection of essays that I want to read slowly, sort of how I read Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. I read that over the span of months, and I really enjoyed reading an essay collection like that, so I'm going to do something similar to this, but it's phenomenal. The author is also based at some point in Oakland, California, which is also where I'm from, so that's a cool connection I had to the author. We have another short story collection, and that is The Beadworkers by Beth Piatot, and this one is just a bunch of indigenous short stories, and the audiobook, actually, I definitely didn't need to buy the physical edition, even though I did plan on annotating it, because the audiobook is narrated by a bunch of different readers and performers, so I'm probably going to pick up the audiobook, but I do love to read audiobooks while also reading the physical book. It's just such a nice way to read and to focus, and so this one I'm really looking forward to starting. I also did apply, I don't know if I got in yet, but one of the classes I registered for was contemporary Native American literature, and we get to do a project on an indigenous author of our choice, and so who knows, I might pick this one. There's some other indigenous writers on my TBR as well that I'm blanking on, but I love an excuse to read books that I already wanted to read and get class credit for them. This book is Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson. This book is going to punch me in the throat. It's going to be one that really hurts, but I think I'm going to really love it. And it's told in this prose poetry kind of style, and I just know it's going to be wonderful and everything I've ever needed. So I've been putting it off for that reason. I originally picked this up because I found it used at a bookstore, and it was on my TBR anyway, so I picked it up there. And then the reason I wanted to read it was because when I was applying for colleges, which feels so long ago now, but when I was applying for colleges, one of the people helping me register for classes, I forget her role, but she recommended this to me, and I didn't end up going to that college, but I did end up getting this book, so I'm looking forward to it. Next, we have a book that I just needed to get. Okay, this was an impulsive buy, but it was one I needed, mainly because the physical edition isn't at any of my libraries. The ebook was, but I didn't like how the ebook was formatted. But that is Common Bonds, and this is an anthology of short stories that is a speculative aromantic anthology. So not just asexual characters, but aromantic as well. And I need my representation, okay? People, I want to read books where I feel seen and that don't focus just on romance or characters who feel romantic and sexual attraction. Like, I do enjoy reading books like that, but you know, I want to feel represented, and the fact that there's a whole anthology of speculative fiction, which is my favorite type of fiction, and it's all featuring aromantic characters. And yeah, the cover is really lovely, and I was so happy to see this in one of my local bookstores. I snatched it up immediately, and I do not regret it, because this is going to be healing, okay? This is going to be healing. Next, we have The Night is Short, Walk On Girl by Tomiko Morimi, and this is also translated, and it's translated by Emily Balistrieri, and she's only cited in this tiny little area. I don't understand why people don't put translators on the covers, but whatever. This book has a gorgeous, gorgeous cover, and my mom picked it up in a bookstore, and I convinced her to get it for me. This is a trend, as we can see. And yeah, this one was also, I think, recommended or put on my radar at least by the channel Pato, and they really talked about it at one point, and I don't know, I was sold. I was sold. Next, we have The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. I have no idea why Elena Ferrante is everywhere, but I know I want to be included. I know I want to get on that trend, and I also know that this is translated from Italian by who? Great question. Anne Goldstein. And this one has Feminine Rage. I don't know, it's been put on Feminine Rage lists, and I saw it at a used bookstore. I think I got it for free because the bookstore I primarily, losing my voice. The bookstore I primarily go to trade my used or books that I unhaul and get store credit. I got store credit, and so this one was free, and I got it. Our next book is What You Are Looking For Is in the Library by Michiko Ayoma, and this one is translated by Allison Watts, and it's actually on the cover. And the cover and the title and the illustrations inside are why I picked this book up. If I can find an illustration. I promise I'm not lying. I swear this illustration. There we go. Illustrations, translated, there's a cat, there's books. It's a library. I want to be a librarian. I didn't need more than that. So the final book that is technically my book, and I have 3 after this that I'm borrowing from a friend, but the one I own is a collection of Baldwin's works, and it's this gorgeous, gorgeous collection, and if I'm to not unhaul this book, I need to read at least one of the books in this collection this year. I'm looking right now at Giovanni's Room and Another Country. I'm kind of between those two to read this year, and it's Baldwin. I'm gonna love it. Coming to our final 3 books, we have firstly The Woman Destroyed by Simone de Beauvoir. Is this translated? It is! It's translated from the French by Patrick O'Brien. And I don't know, The Woman Destroyed, my friend sent it to me as a surprise. I will be picking it up. And if I don't, by the end of this year, I will finally be giving her back all of her books that she has lent me. Next, we have Fiona and Jane by Jean Chen Ho. This is a collection of stories, but I think they all have a overarching thread and storyline, which is my favorite type of short story collections. And it talks about, you get it, female friendship. Female friendship, that's all I need. The final book we have is The Guest by Emma Cline, and this book I know nothing about, except that it's green and it's everywhere on Instagram and TikTok and all of those good things. And I've heard it described kind of as a fever dream. So I love that. I love a good fever dream. So those are all of the books that I have got to read this year, or you will be seeing me saying goodbye to them. And I think it would be really fun to, at the end of 2024 or at the beginning of 2025, saying 2025 is actually a little horrifying, but ignoring that, it would be cool to kind of do a follow-up video to check in, see how I did, and maybe do an unhaul. But crossing my fingers, there will be no unhaul, and instead there will just be reading. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.